It was an ordinary evening for the local police station. Officers were wrapping up their shifts, sipping lukewarm coffee, and attending to the mundane calls of the day. But then, something extraordinary happened. A desperate visitor entered the station, one that no one could have anticipated. A cat. A sleek black cat, with piercing green eyes that shimmered like emeralds, stood at the threshold of the station. It didn't just wander in aimlessly, it was intentional, determined, and oddly, desperate. The officers exchanged puzzled glances. Could this cat be lost? Hurt? Or was this just another bizarre occurrence to laugh about later? But then it did something that sent chills down their spines. It meowed repeatedly, staring straight at them, and then darted toward the door as if beckoning them to follow. One officer, Officer Jenkins, hesitated before kneeling down to the cat. "What is it, little guy? You trying to show us something?" he muttered. The cat pawed at his leg, meowed again, and ran toward the door, pausing to look back. This wasn't normal behavior for a stray. Intrigued and slightly amused, Jenkins and his partner, Officer Davis, decided to follow. Armed with flashlights and curiosity, they trailed the cat into the cold, dark night. It led them through alleyways, across an abandoned playground, and finally into a decrepit part of town where time itself seemed to have stopped. The cat stopped in front of an old, run-down house. Its windows were shattered, the paint peeling, and the yard overgrown with weeds. The officers exchanged uneasy glances. This was the kind of place kids dared each other to visit on Halloween. But the cat meowed insistently and pawed at the door. It was clear, they had to go inside. The air inside was heavy, thick with the scent of decay. Jenkins called out, "Hello? Police? Is anyone here?" But his voice echoed back unanswered. The cat darted ahead, leading them into the dimly lit hallway. Their flashlights revealed broken furniture, cobwebs, and stains on the walls that raised more questions than answers. Then they heard it, a faint, muffled sound coming from upstairs. It was a mix of whimpering and scratching, like someone or something struggling to escape. Davis gestured for Jenkins to follow as they ascended the creaky staircase, each step amplifying their sense of dread. When they reached the source of the noise, they found a locked door. The cat meowed loudly, scratching at it. Davis kicked it open, and what they saw froze them in their tracks. The room was dimly lit by a flickering bulb, but the sight was unmistakable: a man, bound and gagged, tied to a chair in the center of the room. His wide, terrified eyes begged for help. As they rushed to untie him, the man gasped, his voice shaky and hoarse. Thank you, but we have to leave. Now." Jenkins, confused, asked, "What happened here? Who did this to you?" But before the man could respond, a loud thud echoed from downstairs. The officers exchanged alarmed glances. Jenkins whispered, "Stay here," and drew his weapon, motioning for Davis to follow. The cat, undeterred, led the way again. As they descended, the thuds grew louder, more rhythmic, like footsteps. Their flashlights cut through the darkness, revealing shadows that danced menacingly across the walls. They followed the sound into the basement. The smell of dampness and rot grew stronger with each step. At the bottom, they found a horrifying sight: dozens of cages, some empty, others holding small, frightened animals. The walls were covered with disturbing symbols, and in the center of the room was a table, stained with something dark and sinister. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, a tall, gaunt man with hollow eyes and a twisted smile. "I see you've met my pet," he said, his voice cold and dripping with malice. The cat hissed, arching its back, as if warning the officers of the danger they were in. What followed was a blur of chaos. The man lunged at them, wielding a sharp blade. Davis managed to disarm him while Jenkins called for backup. The cat, surprisingly agile, clawed at the man's face, buying the officers precious seconds to subdue him. When reinforcements arrived, the man was arrested, and the animals were rescued. Back at the station, the officers pieced together the chilling story. The man had been running an illegal operation, capturing and torturing animals. The cat, a survivor of his cruelty, had somehow escaped and sought help, leading the officers straight to his lair. The officers looked at the cat, now curled up on Jenkins' desk. It wasn't just a pet or a stray, it was a hero, a symbol of courage and resilience. And while it couldn't speak, its actions that night spoke louder than words ever could. Sometimes, heroes come in unexpected forms. And that night, a little black cat reminded everyone at the station that even in the darkest of times, light can shine through.